Ciao Juventini and welcome to episode 97 of the All JuveCast. We're coming off the 4-0 victory over Lecce, and I am very excited to have a guest making his debut on the podcast. I have Tony joining with me today. And Tony, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing great. It's always nice to come on board after a win, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Always nice, celebrating the wins and talking about that. So we're going to get to the match recap as well as some topics surrounding Juve and then a little bit of fun at the end. But we do have a tradition around here, and it's when you make your debut, you share your story on how you became a fan of Juventus. And I'd love to hear your story, Tony.
Okay. So I'm a kid from the 60s. My father was a big AC Milan fan. Of course, I immigrated from Italy and France. Actually, I was born in France, but then moved back to Italy, lived there for a while, and then moved to Canada, London, Canada. And at that time, Rai, of course, was the only way to be able to watch games. And then Tel Latino came on board. So, of course, Sunday morning, 9 a.m., of course, the Eastern time where we were, we watched whatever game was available. And if it was AC Milan, we watched AC Milan. If it was Juventus, it was Juventus. And my dad let me watch it, and he let me choose whatever I wanted to follow. And I chose to follow Juventus. Back then as well, in the 70s and 80s, there was a post-game show called 90 Minuto, or the 90th minute, that was broadcast from Rai. And I became a big fan of that because I got to watch that. Also a big fan of Formula Uno with Ferrari, of course. And then, but there were some lean years there with Juventus, you know, when things were not so great, but I stuck with them. Of course, the Champions League win with Platini, of course, the year that the Heysel Stadium where they lost, I got to watch that game. Or excuse me, they won, but it was we had the losses of lives, unfortunately, against Liverpool. Got the chance to go to the stadium to check out the museum before I got to watch a game live. And then in 2015, I was in Italy at the time and got to go to a Champions League game versus Borussia Mönchengladbach. Unfortunately, that night was a 0-0 tie, but we tied on 1-1 on the away and advanced. Of course, we all know the history, what happened that year. I also got to go see them here in the U.S. in Jersey when they played Benfica, July of 2018. Nice. Clemenza scored a beautiful left-footed goal, tied the game up. It was in my zone, like I was in behind the goal, so I got to see the goal kind of firsthand. That was beautiful to see that. So
that's nice.
Good history, good times.
That's cool, and I'm looking forward to this at the end when we have our fun little categories because you'll be able to speak to guys that I could only read about. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I got to ask, with your father being a Milan fan, what was it exactly, if you can recall or not, that made you choose Juventus?
It would have been easy to be an AC Milan fan. And of course, those years in the 80s and 90s where they were winning Champions Leagues and they had arguably the best squad in Europe, best club team anywhere, it would have been easy. I think it was just because you know how the feeds go with on television. They're going to show the big games, and I just got attracted to Juventus. I think it didn't hurt that I loved seeing the Juventus player playing also with the Azzurri, and at that time we had some incredible defenses that went along. The Gentiles, the Scirea, Dino Zoff, and of course Lilian Thuram, Antonio Cabrini. So we had a fantastic back line, and and of course I'm an Azzurri fan as well. So winning the World Cup in '82, I was 14, 15 at the time. That was an incredible summer to see that. And then, then we spanned across the 2006 winning again with the newer generation of kids. So I think it was just my dad let me watch what I wanted to watch, and we respected each other. And yeah, there were some heated battles when Juve played Milan, but that's okay. I mean, I respect AC Milan. I think they had some fantastic years. They're obviously having some rough times right now, but
Some awkward dinner moments maybe sometime.
My father was a man that he was pretty humble, and that wasn't an issue.
Nice.
But it was good. He like I said, he let me be what I wanted to be, and I've also continued that on with my children as well.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. I thank you for sharing. That's a great story. Usually, we hear a lot of Juventini just it's just passed down from family and whatnot. So it's really cool to see the opposite, and a father that supports Milan, but you growing up and choosing Juventus. It's great.
At least it wasn't the other Milan team.
Yeah, there we go.
That would have been a problem.
Yeah. Definitely after 06 for sure.
Sure.
So Juve Lecce. There's some stories, circulating with transfers, with Pjanic and whatnot. We had De Sciglio getting injured, Danilo getting the 2 yellows in 8 minutes in our previous match against Bologna. So, there was a couple certainties I think we were going to see in the lineup. And what we got was Szczesny in goal, Quadrado, De Ligt, Bonucci, and Matuidi as left back filling in. In the middle, Bentancur as Mezzala, Pjanic ahead of the defense as Regista, Rabiot, and then Bernardeschi, Dybala, Ronaldo up top again. Real quick for me, I would have liked, since it was Lecce, maybe to try, one of the younger guys, just a left back, just see what we have or whatnot. I mean, it wasn't the end of the world, Blaze covering, but, we had Wesley that was there on the lineups card. And I thought, maybe hopefully we can at least get some minutes from him even later on, like somewhere in the match. Pjanic, I don't know, I've got this mixed feeling about playing a guy that's so heavily linked, and he's had down performance anyways. But again, it was Lecce. Everything else I was fine with. Tony, if you can get your thoughts in on the lineup and what you were thinking.
Maybe your surprise was, I understand the Pjanic thing in the center, and Sarri has come back since the last game, saying, and since we know about the transfer rumors that Pjanic is his player, he doesn't want him to leave. He has confidence in him. He knows he's going through a rough time right now. So yes, had we been playing a Champions League game, I don't know. I've seen Bentancur growing in the position as a young man and doing better and better with it. I don't like putting him on the right side and then okay, well, we're going to sub Pjanic out, then you're going to move to the middle. Just let him play there.
Yes.
And I think this would have been a good opportunity to see him shine. Like, okay, let's go. And I don't want to take anything away from Lecce. I think they put in a valiant effort, but I would have liked to have seen Pjanic just take the position, or excuse me, Bentancur take the position and make it his own and start from the beginning. But I think Sarri's trying to go safe right now and maybe try and instill some confidence in Pjanic, because of course we need to get through the rest of the next 10 games. We need to get through the Champions League. So
yeah,
obviously depth on the bench is going to be important to make sure we have as many players as possible. And of course, you said about the left back. We obviously have something lacking there. That being said, on the left side, I was really impressed with Rabiot in the last game, and I was a little surprised that he got pulled out so soon in this game. Unless, of course, what we don't know is there an injury? I don't think so. He seemed fine.
Yeah, we'll get we'll break the game down and get into the subs and everything. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on the same port. I mean, this mixing of positions and playing here and going there, I mean, that kind of fits the mold for what we did with Bernardeschi as well. And say what we can all say what we think as far as his decision making and things like that. But to be honest, we've had that guy shifted all over the place, and it would be I could see frustration from a player standpoint and a lack of at least a difficulty in finding any kind of rhythm and consistency, having to switch multiple positions all the time. But the only other point I wanted to make as far as the lineup, I was surprised not to see one of De Ligt or Bonucci maybe rested in the game against Lecce. However, we haven't allowed a goal since coming back. Maybe just keeping the rhythm going and just letting them continue to grow. We will definitely talk about the defensive side as we have allowed the fewest goals actually in Serie A. But yeah, we will definitely touch on that as we get into it. So let's get to the match itself, Tony. So I mean, it's a minute 42 in, and to probably a lot of our surprises, Pjanic goes over the top with the ball, and Bernardeschi makes a great run, but he is called on offside. But a promising start that Pjanic is looking. I don't know if now all of a sudden with all this, it's just going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting scenario with this whole Arthur Pjanic thing and to watch him. But immediately it was like, wow, I can't recall the time he's made that attempt, at least that soon in a match where he's already going over the top of defenses. 4 minutes in, Matuidi loses his marker, and Lecce gets an opportunity. The volley was slashed wide of the goal. But I think watching that, you could totally just see that he's so accustomed to having Sandro behind him there that he was used to his midfield role where he would allow that run to go. And then it was almost a moment where he looked over and he thought, oh my God, that's me right now. And then you could see him trying to catch up, but at that point it was too late. I think that's all that really comes down to. 15th minute in, a terrible ball from Cuadrado, putting De Ligt under. They get an opportunity. They drill this thing, but it ends up going right at Szczesny, who voices his concerns with how sloppy, that play was at the back there. Continue on. We move up the pitch, get a little bit of possession, hold some. 19th minute, a nice hit from Rabiot actually forces a good save by the keeper. And
on
then,
his left, his left foot, not his right.
Yeah. I actually, is Rabiot not left foot? I believe he's a left-footed player.
I don't know. And right after, during the game, I went to my go-to for statistics is Soccer Way, and it lists him as a right footer, but I don't know if that's correct or not. Like, I agree with you. I have some doubt that that's correct, but in either case, it's a nice shot. It's on goal. It puts the keeper under some pressure. I mean, it's nice to see him doing that.
Yeah, it's something that honestly our entire midfield needs to do. When we have lines of sight on goal and we're around that range, have a rip. You never know, like our guys are hungry for goals up top there. Ronaldo's always getting in decent positions. Maybe a rebound, like something, like have a go, get that confidence up. So I liked it. 26th minute in, and from quite a few runs and through balls and whatnot, I'm starting to question whether Bernardeschi understands the offside rule at that point. I mean, it was crazy to see because he's playing very, very wide, which I liked. I liked how he's playing the position. But at that point, like, you are literally looking up the line of defense. So to do it that many times repeatedly in such a short span, it's like, and again, I don't know if it's unfamiliarity from just position change or whatnot, but it has to be better. I mean, I like the fact that he's keeping the defense honest and stretching it there, but when you're looking up that defensive line, you should be a lot closer than what he was on a lot of these. He was way off on quite a few. And he's got enough pace where he can make these things count, right? But
I'm not going to give him any kudos here. I'm a referee as well on the side. So I referee mainly youth, but in high school. But I mean, Bernardeschi's in his 20s now. He's got enough time. He understands it. That right wing or left wing or mezzala, I mean, he's got to understand the rule. And like you said, he's got the pace, so he can afford to be a half a
Oh
step
yeah.
back. And what I like, you were right. I like the fact that he was staying wide. So take a couple steps wider, and then you can make your diagonal in, and you don't have to worry about being offside. I mean, and the Lecce left back wasn't on him constantly, so he had that space to be able
Yeah.
to have Pjanic, or I'd love to see Bonucci start dropping some balls in there and drop those balls. There was a ton of space between him and the left back. He could
Yeah.
have used that to his advantage.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
No.
like you said, you get caught offside, you stop the play. I mean, that we want to keep that momentum going. We don't want that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's got to be better. It's just I'm not sure why from Bernardeschi, like but yeah, when you're looking up that line of defense, it's got to be better. You can't. I don't understand when you're, I could see if your back was to the line or something, and you're playing on the last man, but when you're literally
Right.
watching the entire line, it needs to be better. But we
And he's
carry
got
on.
the AR right. He's got the AR right behind him, so it's no question. I mean, all of the, I think it was a 3 or 4 offside. I'm not sure.
It
But
was.
they were all
I
correct.
would say, yeah, probably 4. I think.
But they were all the correct call. It was not like there was any question that we were worried about all that
No,
the AR is making the wrong call. That was not it at all.
no, they weren't. Like I said, they weren't close, and that's the shocking part when you're looking up the line. Couple minutes later, Bernardeschi does get into a advanced position, makes a nice ball across, and Ronaldo still trying to return the favor with the bikes. And I'm thinking on that one, maybe a chest down and hit. Like
Yeah.
it's. I don't know. He's just he's hell bent on returning that favor with a bike, and I think let's keep it simple, man. Let's keep it
Yeah,
simple.
he could have used his chest, brought it down. He would have had time to,
Oh
and
yeah,
he would have been able to pick his corner.
yeah. And then 40 seconds later, Ronaldo rips one low and hard, but curling away from goal. So he misses net there. 30th minute, Bentancur surpasses our forward and just puts tremendous pressure on Lucioni, who ends up having no play but to tackle him as Bentancur's clean on goal after stripping him of the ball. And that's an easy red card. So red card to Lecce, 30th minute in, Juve up a man. Up until this point, we saw a lot of the similar things that maybe frustrate a lot of Juventini with just some slow ball movement. I mean, Bernardeschi's making good runs. We're trying to hit those through balls and whatnot, but the timing's off and he's going offside. But, there's a few chances here and there, but nothing really like no real quality for chances at this point, and still feels you get this feeling of uncertainty as to how they're going to come up with a goal, and it's almost like they're trying to wing it every match and they're not even really sure. Like it's just that same kind of feeling. And also, I mean, up until this point, Lecce was actually coming back with opportunities here and there. So they were not completely sitting back. Like they will take risks. They were taking risks and advancing. So, I mean, it's obviously it's great. I mean, they get the red card. We get the 1-man advantage. Ultimately, our goal is to get that 7 points clear. So, but up until this point, a little bit flat still, I'd say overall. Would you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. Everything you said. I mean, this was not like the Bologna or the Milan match where 10 or 11 players are playing behind the ball and they're defending, and then hoping to get that counterattack. No, Lecce was moving the ball up, and I was kind of impressed with them. And I don't know that they deserve to be in 18th place based on the performance. Of course, before the red card. After the red card, things kind of went out the door. But I think the red card happened because of our pressure. The pass was not a poor pass. He just handled it incorrectly, but we were pressuring. And we saw a little bit more of it at the very beginning of the match, the first 5 or 10 minutes. We were pressuring. The other thing that I noticed that Lecce was doing that was, I think, kind of risky, they were playing the ball out from the back. None of their goal kicks or none of their play from the keeper were long goal kicks. And I understand the new rule, we're worried how you can play out from the penalty box. But it's one thing to play out from the penalty box when you have the talent and the players, and it's another thing when you're playing against a Juve that is pressing on you and has that talent and speed. So I think it was very risky the way Lecce started the game and doing that, and they continued doing it the rest of the game. And many times their outlet was the Mezzal on the left-hand side. He was kind of open because I think Matuidi and Rabiot were off of that man. They just weren't covering him much. So I think it was our pressure that obviously made that opportunity, and of course it was a dog. So they denied the obvious goal scoring opportunity, and I think that opened up the floodgates for us a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely gave us an advance. Obviously getting the advantage was huge for us because you just again just kind of flat, moving the ball too slow, a lot of similar things and frustrations that Juventini feel, but we carry on. We've got the one man up. De Ligt in the 35th minute looks like he's certain to get to a header and gets a bit of a nudge in the back. Not a whole lot there, but I don't know. He's just he impresses me lately as his defensive game has come up. He looks like hell-bent on getting to anything in the area, and he's causing all sorts of problems for teams. And you just watch it now. They're wrestling him down. They're getting hands on him and nudging him now in the back. Not a whole lot there, but I have seen calls when that arm gets extended a bit. This one, it wasn't full extension, so I could see how it was. Yeah, I could see not calling it basically.
But I agree with you. Having De Ligt in there opens up space for other players, and makes the defense. They're already a man down, so they've had to bring somebody else back to play sweeper or center back. So it's just one other threat that they're going to have to worry about. We already have the threat of Ronaldo in there. We know how great he is with the head. Everybody knows how good he is with his head. And I know you're going to talk about it coming up next, but De Ligt gives us that other opportunity, that other threat. And do I think it was a penalty? No, it was kind of soft, I thought. But I definitely agree. I like his attitude. And if there's one word I was going to say about anything about this game, and especially for De Ligt, is confidence. Yeah. He has more confidence. He's not worrying about, at the beginning of the season where he had those couple handballs and suspectful defense. Yeah. Not to mention, you're going to talk about it as well. He made a fantastic tackle on the run later on. But go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's great. We're going to touch on all that. So basically, he gets to that. There's some questioning went up, but I agree with you. I don't think a call should have happened. 40th minute, we get a nice cross in, and Ronaldo. I don't know how he missed it. I don't know how he missed it. I don't think he knows. But that's a sitter for him.
Right.
And then we talk about the bike attempt earlier, and it's just I don't know. 2 minutes later, Berna gets a great opportunity as well. Bernardeschi, great run from him, great hard low cross in, and the degree of difficulty. I know a lot of Juventini were joking about Gagliardini's miss, and then throwing Berna. The degree of difficulty on this play is completely different. I mean, Gagliardini could have ran out and grabbed a hot dog at a vendor, come back, and then put it in. This is a much, much higher degree of difficulty. Hard, low cross coming at him in the air. Yeah, unfortunate that he missed, though. Would have loved to see him bury that, but carry on. 45th minute, and Bentancur tracking back at an incredible pace, winning the ball back, holding possession, and able to get it to the right person to essentially continue a build-up and start up a build-up. Fantastic work rate from this guy, and he continues to just grow and grow and grow. Loved it. 46th minute, before we wrap up the half, a free header from De Ligt, and he gets it wrong as well, sailing it high. But again, we talked about it, as that confidence grows, he is getting to be an extreme threat in that area. And I just kept thinking about that, like watching it. I noticed it in the last match too. And I'm just thinking this guy is growing all over the pitch. But we wrap up at halftime. He got that one wrong. It was 0-0, and we were up a man from the 30th minute. Overall, my thoughts, pretty flat, but for me, I would sum it up with conversion. Conversion and execution. That's essentially just needs to be better when you're one man up, but my concern still remains before that. And Juve just not playing to the tempo that we need to break teams down and just really cause havoc and whatnot. But I did see some good things that I hope we can build off, and I hope Sarri sees, such as Bernardeschi's ability to work in space off the ball. Bentancur's continuing to grow and whatnot, but keeping Dybala more central and keeping Ronaldo working off the left. That's something we just got to continue. You know, there was that big fuss about Ronaldo telling not only Sarri, but his teammates that he didn't want to play centrally. But it's something that we've seen and we know. He becomes isolated. But the part that bothered me about earlier in the week is, and I even said it, I said he looks off before the match started against, I think this was the Coppa Italia final, and I just said he looks off. And to me, the part that bothered me was, even if you had told your coach and your players you weren't comfortable playing there, if you've been asked to play there, especially a guy who's a serial winner like that, we need to feed off this guy's attitude. And if he's showing that kind of attitude at the start of the match, I mean, I saw a lot of guys that looked disinterested in that final. And I just can't help but think, like, man, that's God. It just can't be like that. And then you get reports, a story coming out saying that it was Buffon, Chiellini, and Bonucci that actually had the talk with the team, but with Ronaldo as well, saying that regardless of what's going on, we need you, and you need to be the guy that's lifting everybody up. And it's just really interesting. And I talked about that earlier in this season. And I said, if these guys are having doubts in Sarri, or Sarri's having man management issues, and then there was, you know, when Ronaldo got benched 2 games straight and whatnot, I just said, like, these guys, that's why they're there. It's time to step up as leaders of the team and just kind of keep that unity and keep that that solidarity between them all, because we don't know what's going on with Sarri or not. But, and I know I'm getting a little sidetracked off the halftime, but there's just a lot of things that I see kind of going on with this club. And I don't know, we seem to get this same kind of struggle every year, no matter what the issue is. Whether it's the season before and it's like, how do we fit Dybala in, you know, or now it's this season and it's like, oh, are the guys behind Sarri? They're not behind Sarri, and there's tensions and whatnot. There's always this underlying thing, and we get these flat performances or whatnot. But I'm just, it's frustrating when you see the same thing over and over and over. And for 30 minutes of this match, we got a lot of the same with the ball. But you touched on something I wanted to touch on, was we seem to be at our best when we apply pressure and we increase that risk reward factor, you know. And when we press, we cause issues. It's just that I'm not sure why we just don't do it consistently enough in our game. And I want to get your thoughts on the first half and what you think just overall so far this season, and why we might be having these continued struggles, you know. And people might want to talk about the pandemic break or whatnot, but really, when you look at a lot of these other clubs, they've come back playing great ball, almost unaffected. Like, I'm looking at other leagues, I'm looking at a lot of clubs, and they look good, really.
Right. I mean, you talk about a team that's playing great ball, Atalanta. I mean, wow. And they were at the epicenter in Italy, in Bergamo, of the pandemic. You know, the pandemic affected everybody, so it's an equal factor for everybody. And if anybody should be affected, it would be Dybala, who apparently did have coronavirus for a while. He seems to be doing fine and playing his minutes, starting, and obviously he scored 2 beautiful goals already. But one question I need to ask you, there was one player name that you did not mention in your first half. Who was that?
In my first half.
In your first half review, you didn't mention, well, there were 2 players, but one specifically.
I didn't actually talk a whole lot about Dybala, but I didn't talk about. I talked on Pjanic a bit. Rabiot.
Well, that's the player I was thinking about.
Okay.
And it was a crazy thing I caught was it was a goal kick passed out from De Ligt to Pjanic. Pjanic doesn't even turn. There's nobody on him. He doesn't even turn to look to see what's upfield. And he gives the ball back to Bonucci. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're not even pressured right now. Lecce doesn't have anybody on you. And your first thought and your only thought is to give the ball back to Bonucci. And Bonucci actually ends up pushing the ball up the left-hand side himself. Now, whatever happened after that's a different thing. But Pjanic, I'm not saying he doesn't have skill and he doesn't have talent. He does. We know he does. And we've seen it in the past. And he was in that role in the past of Regista. This trade with Barcelona couldn't come any sooner for me.
Yeah, well,
I mean, if Artuno just sits on the bench and doesn't do anything, he's doing more than Pjanic right now for me.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll talk about that later.
For sure. We'll get to player performances as well. It's just this half, I couldn't help but think back to playing Milan, who was down a man for about 74 minutes, and us looking so unimpressive, and again for 30 minutes of this match. And it's just like, guys, what is it? Like, what is it? Why do we struggle so much to understand where these goals are going to come from? I don't know if it's too much free. Like I've thrown out so many speculations as to what it could be. Like, is there too much freedom for these forwards? Is there not enough structure? But one thing's for sure, we're starting to see a little bit more of a structure in these past 2 games, with Bernardeschi sticking to the right, Dybala staying more central, and Ronaldo coming off the left. And honestly, like, it has looked better. But again, it's the pace. It's the overall pace of play. And I'm not understanding why the players can't move that ball quicker. And not only that, but there's sequences in this match where you can see, and Blaise Matuidi, who was filling in on the left side, I actually thought he did a good job as far as holding position, getting deep down the flank so that our midfielders could stay in their true positions. And I thought he did a good job covering it. But
let's not.
We had opportunities though, where he's creeping up and he can see that defensive line has shifted as all of our play has gone to the right side. The ball comes around, it hits our midfielder, it hits Pjanic, and I think take a quick look to your left because Blaise is going to make that run. He did not even look there. Mm-hmm. So there's something in our play where it's just all these short passes and we continue to get so congested and just work in this one area that we lose all our spacing. All our forwards are there. And then the odd time that we do get the ball over, say we get that ball over to Blaise, our forwards are completely all shifted. He would have no play other than going back to Bonucci. And it's tough to kind of watch that structurally when you're watching it, because you're just like, my God, like the play should be looking over that way. But when the ball gets there, who the heck is he going to play it to? And this actually happened in this match. There was a cross that was made. Blaise Matuidi did a great job. He got there, he headed it in, and there was nobody he could play it to. There was 2 Lecce defenders easily cutting out because we create these massive, massive gaps. And I continue seeing that. And I'm like, sorry, for the love of God, if you're writing something down right now, write that. Like, figure out your positions. Make sure these guys, those options are there. Like, there is just not a clear understanding yet. And that's a frustrating part. I think it just comes down to that understanding. everything you brought up is great, and we are definitely touching on it. We're going to wrap up the second half here, and we're going to get into all that. That's all great stuff, Tony. 49th minute, because we kick off the second half. We're up a man now. We're hoping that we're going to press through and see this one out. A couple things I wanted to see was, let's get Ronaldo some rest. Let's just get him out of there. Like, if he can bag a goal, great. But let's get some rest. Let's try and get Wesley in the game, get Matuidi some rest too, but we'll see what happens. We end up getting an opportunity, like I said, not too long in. Bonucci gets to a nice cross, heads it right at the keeper, unfortunately. And a couple minutes later, Dybala cuts through two players, tries to sneak one in the far post. Really nice shot. Ends up missing wide, but we start off very, very promising. 52nd minute, and Rabiot comes out, and Douglas Costa comes in. And, Rabiot was on a decent performance, I thought. But getting Costa in, I could kind of understand. Just wanted to, Costa, this is the one thing with him, and we'll get to it in player performances, much more effective as a sub than as a starter. He just is. You get him on tired legs, and especially in this situation with them being down a man, I think, you fire him out there. Let's put this game away so that we can kind of start maybe giving some guys some rest and get to it. So I was okay with getting Costa in. Rabiot being out, sure. I think you could have probably picked a couple guys. One guy I didn't mention that you were kind of talking about, Cuadrado, I thought was kind of struggling through this game. He didn't look himself. I saw him go down very easily a few times, some bad passing, but
until Costa came in.
Yeah.
And then he made an appearance.
They kind of, started to work off each other a little bit better.
And I agree with you about the Rabiot. I liked Rabiot in there. I was convinced when Costa got up, we were going to see Berna come out. I thought for sure Berna was going to come out. And of course, then they moved Berna over to the left side.
Yeah. So they moved
to give him a spot, to give Costa a spot on the right side.
Yeah. So they moved Bernardeschi into that Mitsala role to the left, Pjanic. And, that's something that I've been vocal about on the podcast and said, I think he could do it. He's very athletic. He's fit. Be interesting to see. But I think Rabiot, I don't think it was a performance thing by any means why I got subbed. I think it's just a matter of getting Costa in that match. Like I said, I think you could have chose probably a couple guys. Dybala in the 53rd minute. Okay, we talked about the pressing. Unbelievable, man. This guy, for me, that's why I say, like, positionally, you've got to keep him centrally. I think, like, even when he gets wide out on the wing, he's great at linking up. But if we're going to try to build around him and we want to accommodate Ronaldo, naturally he has to be more central. It has to work. With the right wing, Costa and Bernardeschi give you elements that we almost need out there that Dybala can't.
Sure.
But this goal came from the press, 100%. We pressed the ball. We forced the error. Ronaldo took a look, saw Dybala was there before the ball even got to him. Puts it there. Dybala stops it. So composed too. Like, just stops it, bottom of his boot. Beautiful shot. Left foot, curler, up and down, right in the corner. No chance for that keeper. Beautiful, beautiful goal. But that goal is all from the press, and Ronaldo keeping it simple, just keeping it simple. Sometimes, like even in this match, we talked about a few instances trying to do a little too much, but this was just a beautiful, beautiful goal. Dybala has been, the argument has started, like, one of our best this season, if not the best. And I know Ronaldo's got the goals up there and whatnot, but Dybala's been tremendous after trying to sell him last summer.
Right.
unbelievable. But yeah, this was a beautiful, beautiful goal. Um, like a double rainbow. We get a double lobbying for calls, one from Paulo Dybala and then one from Ronaldo. Both. I mean, definitely nothing in the CR7 one. Bit of contact there on Paulo, but again, I I don't know. Maybe the Paulo one. It was definitely not inside the box. He would have been just outside on the edge. But again, I want to see a little more fight out of guys. I think sometimes we go down a little too early. Um,
Dybala.
you know. Um, but yeah, nothing really in it for me. Uh, Lecce moved up the pitch very, very quickly after that. And then Delict cleans it up. One of the nicest timed slide challenges. Like, again, just credit to him and growing and growing. And what he's doing right now is Bonucci, we're starting to see him start to move laterally, like much more to the left side, to the right side, and it's starting to allow us to press a little harder. And that's because Delict is starting to cover so much ground in behind them. And that's gonna, if we can keep that up and that can grow and grow and grow, that could be a huge, huge factor for us, because we talked about and mentioned when we press, we are at our best. So now all of a sudden, if we can get that freedom, because the Lick's turning into a monster, that's going to be something to keep an eye on for sure. He is giving that freedom to Bonucci to be able to slide out laterally more, in turn pushing our fullbacks up a little more, in turn getting our forwards on that last line and being able to really, really put teams under. So it'll be interesting to see that just continue to grow and develop with that partnership.
And Delict's playing on the left side where quote unquote the weaker Matuidi. I'm not saying he's weak in terms, but weak in terms of the position. We know that Matuidi is not a left back. We know that that's not his premier spot, but the confidence to put Delict there with Matuidi and Bonucci on the other side with Cuadrado, who this year has obviously shown that he can play right back. So the more experienced player. So I was impressed. Yeah. You're right. Delict is covering ground. He's making tackles. He's making that position his own. There is no way, like I know we're going to talk about later, he's not losing that position.
No, we'll definitely start talking about that. Yeah, it's just, they're lined up however they want to line it up on the lineup sheet, but Delict is, him and Bonucci have this very, very nice rotational thing going on where they are in sync right now. It is really, really nice to watch. But yeah, we will definitely touch on that. 60th minute. And Ronaldo draws a PK. And it's a call. He gets to the ball first. Guy steps in on him. I mean, I think it's an easy call. Steps up, finishes it 2-0. Okay. 67th minute. Great free kick from Dybala, and nobody could get to it. Bentancur was there, Bonucci was there, and Ronaldo was back post. Unfortunately, not one out of the three could get to it, but Dybala played quite a few nice dead balls in this match. As far as open play goes, maybe not as involved as he should be, but I didn't really get a lot out of him in the open play aspect, but his dead balls were bang on, and he scored that beautiful goal. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was just how we were playing and using the flanks quite a bit and maybe just not going through him a bunch, but there was a couple times he had to drop really, really deep to kind of get involved, and then we had nobody centrally. So it was kind of a weird one from the Dybala aspect, but when he was involved, he was good. I thought he was good. But yeah, we'll carry on there after nobody getting to that incredible ball. 68th minute, right after almost a sequence, Ramsey comes in for Bentancur. And yeah, I don't know. Again, maybe just rest. I mean, you could probably argue Pjanic going off and maybe shifting Bentancur in there, get Ramsey more time to get familiar there. And we'll touch on that too and why, because I mean, again, this deal that's looming over the club's head and Pjanic's head. And, it's got this trickle down effect, and maybe you just allow these other guys to grow together and strengthen the chemistry and whatnot. But nonetheless, Ramsey comes in for Bentancur, who again, I thought put in a solid performance. 70th minute, and De Ligt stepping up and about 25 yards out, has a go from range there, and just curls it away from goal. Keeper diving there, might have been there, but again, De Ligt just getting involved, stepping up, being another weapon, right? Just another piece of the puzzle there. 74th minute, great pass from Costa to Ramsey, who makes a great turn, hammers a shot, stopped by the keeper. 76th minute, Dybala out Higuain in, Bernardeschi out Muratorian. And here's a double change. And no issues with it. 2-0 up. Costa started off a little slow in this one when he entered the match, but really, really grew. And by this time, he was really taking that entire flank to himself and making things happen all over the place. 83rd minute, Ronaldo found by, I believe, Bonucci clearing the ball up to Ronaldo. He carries it from the halfway line. He cuts in, plays a back heel. It actually bounces off the defender, falls to Higuain, who hammers home. Nice to see him get a goal. Coming back, 3-0 Juve. And, of course, 2 minutes later, who has to get one but De Ligt? So nice cross again from Costa, who just kept growing and growing. And De Ligt just gets in there. The keeper should have stepped out on that one. He didn't. It seemed like he was undecided, but De Ligt makes him pay. And 4-0. And 86th minute, I think I see one more great run from Costa, beating a couple guys, having a rip, forcing a save by the keeper. And after that, we just see it out. 90th minute comes, not many seconds after either. No. And he shuts it down, kills the match, 4-0.
The referee had a date. He had an early date, so he just wanted to get out of there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He had something to do. So job done. No injuries, 7 points clear. We are seeing signs of how we should proceed, how we should use certain personnel. We are building. However, we just need to see a little more at full strength and not when teams are a man down. This one's a tough one to look at because I know some Juventini were very, very hyped and hyping it up as, the 4-0 win. We got our big margin win and whatnot. And then you have some other Juventini that are thinking, no, to be honest, it was underwhelming when we were level. And you got to look at when you're level and even with teams, because you're not going to get that advantage every match. That's just the way it is. But I think it's a mixed bag here. I mean, I think, there were some frustrations. However, the signs are there of what this club needs to do and how they need to use certain personnel. Sarri needs to put it together. But he is getting the signs of what he needs to do. We just got to have faith that he's going to follow suit and go towards those signs. Real quick, your thoughts on that match and where you kind of stand on out of those two aspects, and then we're going to get into player performances and man of the match.
Just 1 point in the first half, you said conversion was the problem. Would we have these concerns if we would have put 1, 2, or 3 out of those 3 great chances away in the first half? We probably wouldn't be discussing the problems of the first half. Again, albeit it came after the red card, I will say that. But, Ronaldo bringing that one down to his chest and finishing it. The head ball from Ronaldo. The Berna. The shot from Rabiot. I mean, we did take more shots, no question about it. So I just think if we had been able to convert some of those, even one of those, it would have been a different match. But certainly, we're between the progression between the match versus Milan, the match versus Napoli, then Bologna, and now Lecce. I agree. Lecce is not as strong as those other teams, but I think we've seen changes. I think I like the personnel changes, except for one, of course. But Acosta coming in, I didn't like seeing Rabiot go out, but like you said, somebody had to be sacrificed. But everything kind of changed when Costa came in. All the goals came after that. His enthusiasm, his engagement. It's the same thing that we saw when he came in as that super sub against Bayern Leverkusen in the Champions League, and he got the goal that changed that and put us through to the next round. So he is a super sub. He's maybe not good for 90 minutes or for the first 60 minutes, but man, when you bring him in the last 30 or 40 minutes, like you mentioned, when the other team is tired, he can make things happen. And he's magical with the ball with his feet. He's got, and both right and left foot, he can make things happen.
Yeah.
I like it when he's not, when he also is not selfish. When he just doesn't think about himself and he's looking to put that ball to Dybala and to Ronaldo or whoever's on that left side.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree. Costa, we know he's got to be that guy that comes in as a sub.
Yep.
He's phenomenal at that role. In this match, we talked about it, Dybala, probably not as influential as we're used to this season in open play, but playing his dead balls fantastically, scored a brilliant goal, being the option there on that play. Bernardeschi, he got ragged on this one, but other than his offside debacle in the first, I thought he was doing a lot of things well. Again, pushing that back line, keeping them honest, keeping his position, allowing other guys some space, making the runs off the ball, which we just don't see a lot of. Ramsey stepping in, he was moving off the ball very, very well.
Yes.
And making runs into space and whatnot and doing those basics. Matuidi covered just fine. He had a couple instances losing his man. Again, he's played left back once before this season, earlier in the season to fill in. Otherwise, he's always been at that midfield role. Habits will set in and show from time to time. I didn't think much of it. Cuadrado struggled, was a bit better, like you touched on, once Costa comes in. Bonucci and De Ligt, great partnership. De Ligt, huge. Szczesny had to make a couple stops, kind of right at him, nothing crazy. Ronaldo could have been a little more sharp. Should have probably had a hat trick in this one. But yeah, let's go with man of the match. So interesting to see that Gazette, I believe, put Ronaldo as man of the match with the highest rating, and I disagree.
I agree with you.
So who's your man of the match, Tony?
I've kind of gone back and forth here. It's either got to be De Ligt or Bentancur. But I'll probably have to say, because of that slide tackle and then the goal, even though he's not there to score goals. But one thing I got to say about that goal, he did what Bonucci and Ronaldo couldn't do, is finish a header. He showed them both how to do it. Now, I agree with you. The keeper should have probably gotten a hold of that, but it's the last goal. It was the end of the game. A lot of factors, but still, he was there and he made something happen. I always talk about players who make things happen, who execute. De Ligt, he checks all those boxes for me right now.
Yeah, I was kind of
like you said, he was a monster.
Yeah, I was going through my man of the match, and I think even though he come in 52nd minute or whatnot, Costa's up in there for me, even though it took time to grow, but he made a lot happen. He was dangerous. His effectiveness was huge. But De Ligt, for me, I can't take it away from him. I cannot take it away from De Ligt. It was an overall great performance in both phases. Dangerous in offense on headers, scored that goal, cleaned everything up for us. Assisted in the press when we were pressing upfield and advancing, and just making, just shutting things down, allowing that press to be forceful. I'd have to give it to De Ligt. Really, really close one, but I give it to De Ligt in this one. And
it was interesting. It was interesting, like you said, Gazzetta gave man of the match to Ronaldo. I read One Football, and they gave Ronaldo a 7.5. Now, he did have a good rip on that left foot in the first half that just went wide. He made the nice cross into Berna. Certainly the pass to Dybala. Now, Dybala made that, finished it well. But I wasn't crazy about his bicycle kick. He could have done so much.
Here's the thing, it's like you credit that with an assist, but in my mind, like there's passing and then there's an assist. You know what I mean? Like there's slight difference. Like that pass didn't create the opportunity for Dybala. That goal was a beautiful strike from distance. Right. Like to me, that's a pass, not a true, like what I consider an assist.
I agree.
And then there was people calling the other one an assist too. Well, his back heel went straight to the defender and it bobbled off him. So I don't even count that as an assist.
I mean, the intention was there. I think he saw that Higuaín was going to be in a better position to finish it. So that's fantastic. I don't think he was trying to get Higuaín to get his goal, but certainly I think Ronaldo at that point had two players kind of on him. And he says, okay, I'm going to heel this back and quickly, and then let Higuaín finish this. Finish. So,
I mean,
I understand the difference between a pass and an assist. I agree.
I mean, Ronaldo was heavily involved. Let's not get that wrong. Like he was heavily involved. He was doing very, very well. He was all over the place. He was, always somewhere involved with our offense and whatnot and what was going on. But I don't know. There was a lot of shortcomings there too. And I don't know. Like for an overall clean, solid performance, I got to go with De Ligt on this one for man of the match.
But let's not forget, Ronaldo still has the best abs because he made sure he showed us that by taking off his jersey and giving it away.
Yeah. He's got to do that. He's got it.
Yeah.
De Ligt, better and better and better, man. Each game, and this brings up something I want to touch on, and it's what happens when Chiellini comes back. And this is a bit of a tough one because he is the captain. Bonucci's, I think, in my personal opinion, done a great job as stepping in through Chiellini's absence and whatnot. I think he may not check all the boxes as far as a leader goes. He might be missing a few elements or whatnot, but he has done a good job. And he's been a reason De Ligt's been allowed to really, really have that time and whatnot, like to become what he is becoming. De Ligt is almost overperforming. It's almost at higher expectations than what we thought we would get in the first season with him with Juventus and Serie A. But Bonucci's done a good job, but Chiellini is the true captain. But you have a defense that has allowed the fewest goals in Serie A. You have them on a 4-match run, possibly even 5-match run of no goals, because it might date back to the match before stoppage and whatnot. So,
well, we beat Inter. What was the score of that game against Inter?
I believe it was 2-0.
Okay, so you're right.
So you've got a run of clean sheets here, and what do you do, Tony? Like this. I don't think it's that easy.
Not to mention Demiral is going to come back, and he's had some great games as well. I'm not suggesting Demiral comes in before Bonucci or Chiellini, but like I said earlier, I think De Ligt has made that position his own, and I think he's going to be there.
So you think he's a lock 100%? Chiellini and Bonucci will rotate?
Maybe Chiellini, the fact that I don't know if he's had another injury. Of course, we saw him before the COVID break. He did get in some minutes, and now, of course, we have not seen him in the past 4 games. So has he re-injured it? Is he realizing, well, first of all, he's not even dressed. He's in a suit on the sideline. So what's going on? Was there another injury? We don't know, of course. Or is Chiellini kind of realizing, yes, I'm the captain of this team, but as a captain, I realize that the Bonucci-De Ligt combination is the combination we need to go with right now. I don't know. Obviously, he's a pro. He's a professional. He's Chiellini, and we know his capabilities, but maybe he knows his capabilities. He's starting to slow down a little bit. And it's the same thing with the Azzurri. Are you going to put Chiellini and Bonucci back there? I know that's a different issue, but or do we go with what's got us all the way through to this point? So that's another question that, again, the both of them together are going to have to answer. But
So
that's a different type of thing.
So what do you do? Chiellini comes back. He's healthy. He's ready to play. Do you use him as a sub to give these two guys rest, and these two guys are your main?
I like that. I think I like that idea. You know, and it's not even a respect issue, because again, Chiellini is not the kind of guy that's going to go to Saturday and say, you need to play me because my name is CR7, because he's not going to do that. He's too good and too important to Juventus as a legend. He's not going to do that. So I think if I'm the coach and making an independent decision, again, we don't know what's going on at Continassa, at the training facility, but right now I think it's Bonucci and De Ligt.
Yeah. So you think, Chiellini might just be a victim of his own fitness issues then, eh? And just like not being able to risk him, because I mean, these other guys have been durable,
Right.
and they're in sync and have rhythm, and consistency and confidence.
And it's not a problem to have a Chiellini as your backup. I mean, let's get serious
Yeah.
here. Possible one of them could get hurt. We don't want that to happen, but hey, what a nice thing to have in your back pocket, have a Chiellini as your super sub at the center back's position.
Yeah, just to fill in. I mean, yeah, great problem to have. But it's an interesting one, and I just thought, wow, it's hard to see your team's actual captain not be able to maybe get in the lineup, once he's back and ready to go. And I mean, I do understand it. I think it might be maybe a bit harder for me to come to terms with, because I hold Chiellini in such high regards.
And so do I.
Yeah.
I do as well.
And
what would have been interesting is, and I know these are not the Conte years, if we would have gone with 5 at the back in yesterday's game because of Matuidi, because we didn't have the natural left back, is that something that, I know Sarri's not going to do that, but would that have been an interesting thing to kind of cover for Matuidi, to have 3 center backs and the 2 wing backs?
So, actually go to the 3-5-2. I mean, honestly,
or a 5-3-2, whatever. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of Juventini that swear by that formation still and just say it's the position for us and whatnot. I don't know. I don't know if you do it. Sarri will never do it. That's the thing, is we will never see it. Would we be better off in going that way and having, Bonucci, De Ligt, and Chiellini? That leaves us with, once he's back, Demiral and Rugani as cover. Otherwise, only Rugani. So, yeah, that's a tough one too. I mean, you're taking a bit of a gamble because of Chiellini's risk factor and injury lately. If he goes out before we get Demiral back, you only have Rugani to fill. So, and Sarri is hell bent on his 4-3-3, and that's it. That's all she wrote. So, I don't think it's anything we will be seeing. But yeah, I want to touch on De Ligt with just how it's incredible to see. You have a lot of reports and people that just don't understand because they've only seen clips and highlights from struggles earlier in the season, and it wasn't even really struggles. It was unlucky. And I've never seen anything like it. The unfortunate series of events he had with handballs. But aside from that, he always showed, what he was capable of. But it is really, really blossoming, and it's incredible to watch. Has he surpassed your expectations for year one?
How old is De Ligt right now?
What is
I mean, I know how old he is, but he's just a kid still.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with him.
Yeah.
And I mean, he could be the back line at that back line for the 5-6 more years. I think it'll be up to him how long he stays at Juventus. And I don't want to hear any talk about him going to Barca or to Real Madrid. We are not going to give this guy away. Not for anything less than 120 mil.
It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be huge if he goes. But the thing is it's beautiful to see. I mean,
Mhm.
he just suits Juventus to a T. I love seeing the videos of him and his girlfriend enjoying Turin, loving the life. You see him make these videos at home, and he's always wearing like a Juve training top or sometimes his jersey, and I'm just like, it's incredible to see. But his like where he stands right now, and I had this discussion with other Juventini just last night, and where he stands right now at his age compared to like some of the guys we hold in high regards, it's incredible. It's night and day. He is so like just dominant and physically like uh it's crazy to see the level he is at right now at that age. And I agree with you. I think I don't ever want to see him go. I want to see him a staple and one of the backbones of our future, and one that's right at the heart of the core of what this project is going to develop into. It's
I'd like to see him get the star at J Stadium, like
yeah,
the legends that have those stars. I think I mean, maybe we're being a little premature. I hope we're not being premature, but I'd like to see him get that. And I think he's got the respect of the Juventini at this point. I think
yeah,
those naysayers at the beginning of the season who just saw those handballs, like you said, looking at the highlights, oh, well, if the Gazzetta says that he's in trouble, then and that he wants to go back to Ajax or back to the Netherlands, then it must be true. Well, I'm glad he
yeah.
has such composure, such what's the word, finesse, but he also holds himself really nicely. I'm not saying he's a good-looking kid. I'm saying just the way he walks onto the
He's
field with
just so
confidence,
mature. He's
and
just so
that's a
mature.
ton of pressure to play for.
Yeah,
Yes, mature. Yes,
he's just so
yeah,
mature. He's class. He suits Juventus, right? It's such a good fit. That price tag, and we talk like if he continues, because again, it's surprising to me to see this. Like I expected a good, solid center back that would take time. I didn't know what that time was going to be, right? But to see what he's doing, um, within year one is actually, yeah, surprising me a bit. I think he's overperforming from my expectations. That if he continues on that path, that price tag that we paid might be a steal, to be honest. If he continues on route, but it's been great to watch, and look forward to, as we both agree on, hopefully many years of enjoying his talents in Turin. Let's get to um, this deal. This deal that's looming around Juve and Barcelona, which is Pjanic going to Barcelona and Arthur coming into Juventus. A lot of fans hung up on the 80 million euro price tag on Arthur, but there's a 70 million euro price tag on Pjanic. We know that both teams have massaged those numbers to help the books. This makes sense as why Juve pushed so hard for a guy that was adamant about staying with Barca. It's starting to make sense. There's nowhere else you're probably going to get a team that's going to agree to that number that's going to help your books, which is huge for Juve at this moment in time. You're not going to get that anywhere else, and it's starting to make sense why they pushed so hard. Ultimately, it's going to be us swapping Pjanic for Arthur with a cost of 10 million euros. That's
right.
huge, with a positive sale in the books, because they're both going to be done as a sale and not as a swap. This is that's just a good piece of business, really. It really is. Pjanic has faded. He was great with us at the beginning, had some good seasons. It has been fading. He's 30 years old. I don't think you're going to get that value is just absolutely insane. And if people are doubting anything, you really need to go and tune into what Barcelona fans are saying and reacting because they are losing their minds right now.
And the bench and the locker room.
Yeah, the players now reported. That's a great point, Tony. Now the players are stressing their concerns and just saying what is going on. And it is one of these deals now, once you see these financials and everything, that it's like, this is like too good to be true almost for Juve, you know? And the thing is with Arthur, even if it doesn't work out, he's going to hold that value. Like, he's going to hold value because he's a younger player. So this move, it's really making sense as far as why Juve have pushed so hard. The thing is, with this deal, it would not go through. So the players are now set. I heard it's locked and set. The physicals will be tomorrow. Pjanic in Barcelona, Arthur in Turin. Now, the thing with this is, what do we do with Pjanic for the remainder of the season? For me, you know, I'd have a hard time having faith in this player that's got this deal looming over his head, that's about to go to Barcelona, who has been putting in mediocre performances for quite some time now, and you've got Bentancur continuing to grow. For me, it's a no-brainer. You play Bentancur as your main and use Pjanic to rest players. That's how I'd proceed. I had another Juventino say that he wouldn't do that because why let Bentancur grow in that spot when Arthur is going to come in? I don't think Arthur is set to play just ahead of the defense. I believe he's set to play as one of the Metsalas. But to me, I think you go, and Arthur has been playing as one of the side midfielders for Barcelona. I think Bentancur, you go with that regardless, and you let him grow, and Pjanic used as a sub. Tony, I want to get your thoughts on how Juve should proceed having this deal looming over their heads and whatnot.
So I agree with the Barcelona fans. I mean, this to me is all positive for us. Pjanic is at the twilight of his career. Arturo is just starting his career, 23 years old. Like I said, even if Arturo comes over and doesn't even do anything for us, I think we come out positively here. The 10 million, okay, we got to give that up because but I don't think the 10 million is enough for the 7-year difference, even if we put the players on par. So I think it's all positive. I don't know what we do with Pjanic. What happens if we play Barcelona in the Champions League, if we get put together with them? I know we got to get past Lyon first, but we get stuck with Barcelona. Then what happens? That's an interesting characteristic, and it's happened in the past in Champions League. But we never have these transfers occur looming with the Champions League not having been completed. So this is a very weird situation, right?
The other thing too is, you again, this deal being so strong for Juve, you can't run the risk of Pjanic getting an injury.
Right.
You can't, I don't know if there's any type of stipulations or protection in this deal should that happen, but I don't understand why risk it, or why I don't know. For me, he's going to have something else on the brain. He's going to be ready for another adventure, and he's already been, surpassed in many people's eyes by Bentancur. I just see, offer some rest here and there. Don't run him ragged. Don't risk the injury. Just, shut it down. I don't know. I think when you factor in all the things going on, we need to move with the other guys forward. I can't see having that faith and continuing with Pjanic being a main piece, which will be very, very interesting, knowing how stubborn Sarri is. And we don't know if Sarri had been playing him recently because of the bust up rumors that were there between him and Pjanic, and then him coming out and speaking to how positive the relationship is with Pjanic. and saying that, and we are not sure if he got these starts these past 2 matches because it was Sarri's way of, pouring water over the fire and just kind of putting it out or whatnot. We don't really know, but it's another interesting thing to think about if Sarri's going to be stubborn with that or whatnot. What do you think?
Not to mention Sarri coming out and saying that, he wasn't in favor. He's not in favor of this. He's not been told by management about the looming changes. I mean, is he totally deaf to what's going on all around him?
Again, I don't know if he's just saying that to, there's no way. I mean, you have players who are now going to perform medicals tomorrow. So to say know nothing of this is completely ridiculous. And to just say, like, he may be wanting to, just put Pjanic's mind at ease, keep him focused on games or whatnot. But I mean, Pjanic is involved. Pjanic would have had to agree to clubs that they're going to. And we know that he spoke about Barca.
He signed the contract a long time ago with Barca. He knew he was going there a long time ago, long before all these rumors came out.
So, it's just, this is the thing. It just, I find funny and sorry sometimes, like he blows my mind in pressers and whatnot. It's funny, right? But I mean, he's also in this type of position that what is he really gonna say? You know what I mean? Like, I kind of get that, but what he did say was just complete BS. We know that, and it is what it is. But I'm really curious to see if he's going to get stubborn or not and continue on with Pjanic, because maybe in his mind, despite, like, this was the frustrating part as you see struggles and whatnot that were happening in the season, and talking about Sarri and needing to work towards the positive signs and get that momentum built up. He's spoken about Pjanic just being in a slump. I'm sorry, but a slump doesn't stem like an entire season. That's not a slump. Like, that's not a slump. That is just not being up to the task at hand. Like, that's just being poor. That's all it comes down to. A slump, yeah, sure. 3 games, 5 games, maybe, and then turn it around. But he started off great and has been mediocre to bad for the rest. And it'll be interesting to say, because Sarri continues to praise him and always has good positive stuff to say about him. And maybe he does truly believe that's just a slump, but I really want to see what ends up happening with this deal going through. Maybe we'll know more next week as we go into the match on Tuesday against Genoa away, which will be, I think, I'm preparing for a grind, but be interesting to see what Sarri does, especially after the medicals. We'll see what happens there. Talking about this deal and management and just, does this type of deal, I guess it depends on where you stand and your thoughts are on our current management team, but has it in some way restored faith in the management in your eyes, or did you always have that faith in management? But for me, this deal might start to shed light on the fact that they're starting to understand that they've really allowed bad business to kind of multiply. And I think they're starting to sort it out with guys. And, we had the rumors of all these contract extensions that were going to happen this year, and then it just kind of shut right down. And I think they're kind of maybe hopefully figuring out, and maybe the pandemic might have forced their hand into how they should truly be handling their business, and getting smarter about it. I want to get your thoughts on that, Tony.
So the many, many years that I've followed Juve, and especially in the past decade or 15 years, we are the king of the free transfer. We have brought on players and made them shine later on in their years incredibly. But I think the past couple of years, we've not done such a great job with that. A great example would be Rabiot and Ramsey. Again, Rabiot being a younger person, Ramsey being a smarter and a different kind of player, but both in the midfield. We have all these midfielders on the bench. And I understand Khedira got hurt and he's on the twilight of his career, but we have so many midfields, but we don't have a good midfield. I think we all agree on that.
Yeah.
And certainly bringing Arturo he's going to be a starter and he's going to play 90 minutes. I mean, that's probably going to be the way he's going to be. So I want to see him and Bentancur playing together. So we've always done this great, free transfer, the Bosman rule, and it's just been great for us. And I think we've gotten away with it, and we've been able to get players to play in minutes and make players play really well with our system, and they blossomed in that. But I think we have to realize that sometimes you got to go and buy a 20-year-old, or you need to use your Primavera team and start bringing these players in. We haven't brought anybody in from our Primavera team and actually see them on the field. Maybe Moises Keane, and of course then we sold him to Everton. And I thought he was doing great with us last year. Again, we don't have the advantage of understanding everything on the back end, and of course we don't know everything in terms of the money and what the money situation is. But I like your point about COVID. I think COVID forced our hand and said, okay, not only are we going to go to our players and tell them they're going to have to take some money back, or we're going to take some money back from their salaries, but because we're not going to have any player or anybody watching the games. As I watch it, the stadium in the background, they're empty. I mean, that obviously there's a lack of liquidity in the funds coming in. You can only sell so many Chryslers and Fiats in the world to be able to pay for your players. So I think we've got to start growing, and I want to see those young players playing. I meant Muratore is one that was a better player, but we don't see him play. Clemenza was another one that I wanted to actually see. He's a Bernardeschi type player who plays on the right but has that sweet left foot.
How come we could have never seen Mandragora just give it a go for us?
Right.
Even offering some minutes here and there. It's just, yeah. I mean, I think I've always said I think we just need to do a better job of balancing that mix of the younger guys and your experienced guys and whatnot. But we are a bit on the opposite end when it comes to age.
Sure.
But we do have some good young guys. Bentancur, De Ligt, Demirel, Dybala still considered young. It's there, but it's just what the moves that we make around them to support them. And even when you look at a guy like Dybala, I mean, we've never had the faith to truly build around him, and he's always been that piece that we're trying to fit in rather than say, this is our guy. How do we mold this team around him? And, you kind of, you start to wonder, and this Ronaldo thing has been broken down and talked about to death, but at the time you take that deal 100%, but it has created a bit of a struggle and challenge. What it did was just change the challenge of now creating that harmony. That was Allegri's struggle. He could not get Dybala integrated in that pitch because he did not want to take away the combination of Mandzukic and Ronaldo. So he stuck with that. And Dybala coming off that wing in that style of play, it was not working. And the Ronaldo deal, yeah, there's a lot of other factors that you look at. Hindsight's 2020, all that. I still say you make that move. Any day of the week, you make that move. You bring them in. I just think what happened was it opened our eyes to what we really had. We had teams that were overachieving, I think. Not so much domestically because the competition wasn't quite there to us, but I think we were overachieving in a sense of how deep we were getting in Champions League, blinding us to what we really needed to do. And that move prevented us from really being able to bolster our midfield, which we never truly addressed for a long time. Our midfield isn't bad by any means. Our playing style needs to, there's a lot of contributing factors: playing style, the intensity, the aggression, like the risk reward, being pragmatic under Allegri, all these other factors. But, you know, all in all, you know, we probably, and I know I did, and I was wrong. I thought Ronaldo could legitimately be the difference. I thought this could be the guy takes us over the top, even at that age. I said this could probably be the guy that takes us over the top. What it did was show me at how bad a business we have done in the background to get stuck with so many players that we cannot move now. And there's just like, it's just, we get into situations where we should keep guys to continue to build, to keep that window, that Ronaldo window of really going after the Champions League tight. But instead we've had to get rid of certain guys, even though they were outperforming guys that we were keeping over them, because we were handcuffed financially, handcuffed by the contracts, handcuffed based on no other teams wanting those guys. And that was it. That's a huge thing that I'm hoping the management will see now after, you know, the last summer, and just how bad it's been, you know, and we make these moves and, you know, nothing against him. And he scored big goals for us. Higuain, you know, so it's just an example of a move you make to weaken an opponent, but you start to leave gaps in other areas because of the finances involved in making that move, right? It's tough. Like when Higuain was signed, did you think that's the difference of winning us the Champions League?
I don't know if he made the difference for the Champions League. I think what your good point is, and you know what it happens when you take a player within one particular domestic league from one team to another, you know, just like a Barca to Real move or an Atleti Madrid to Real or Barcelona. In this case, Napoli to Juventus. You weaken your opponent, you make yourself better. So, and I know you've talked about this before, how we were both fighting for Sandro Tonali, and Inter gets him instead. It would have been a great grab for us to bring in a Tonali. Now, maybe we don't need him now with Arturo coming. Maybe now that we got this deal, we don't need the Tonali. But it's always a good thing to be able to weaken a domestic. But does it necessarily get you closer to the Champions League? That's a different kind of thing. And like you said, Serie A the past 3 to 5 years, I think, has been weaker. Our competition has been weaker, and we've won comfortably some years. This might be until about a week ago, might have been the closest we've been. Now, we have a 7-point lead today. Tomorrow, that could change. Yeah. But Lazio and Atalanta have really shown us, you know, Lazio's beaten us twice this year. Let's not kid about this. I think they deserve to win.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it got us closer. And you're right. Cristiano Ronaldo, I mean, all that talk about him being Penaldo, well, it's coming to fruition now. That's where he's getting his goals. And that's not a bad thing necessarily, because there's still goals. Do you get those penalties because you're pushing the other team's defense constantly? Because you're a threat constantly? Because they're afraid of you? Because they have to cover you so closely? If that's the case, fine. I don't know if that's going to win domestically. I don't know if that's going to help us in the Champions League.
Yeah. The thing is just looking at certain moves and just really, you know, breaking them down that one step further. And where do you draw the line of weakening an opponent, but is it the right fit for the club? Like, is it the move we need to make? Is there other options? Like, it's all about options. You bring up Tonali. Tonali's a whole nother separate ballgame that ties into what we were talking about earlier, which was the combination of the younger guys with the experienced guys. I start to get worried when guys are choosing our rivals over us. Right. And we're starting to lose that connection with the Azzurri, the connection that drew you into Juventus way back, right? And we have gradually lost the ties to the Azzurri. The management, like, did this move restore faith? Like, was my question in management. And for me, I think the pandemic has and last summer has been an eye opener. And I think Paulo Dybala's performance this season is also an eye opener because they tried to push him out last summer. And with what he's done this season, that should have been the ultimate eye opener that you guys are making mistakes and potentially critical ones. Because if you are doing business and your business gets you to a point where you're running a kid like this out of town, you've got problems. Big, big problems. So it's funny how we go from that summer to now this year, and the discussion has become, we need to lock him down. He's our 10. He's our centerpiece. And I'm just thinking, you guys get your shit together. That's it.
Right.
You know, but has this move restored faith? A bit. I think they're starting to see the big picture. I think it's going to come around. Moving one of Rabiot or Ramsey, I think they're also starting to get that, you know what, you got to spend some money because ultimately you get what you pay for. Rewarding the Bosman players with high wages and bonuses makes zero sense. And I think they're starting to clue in. I hope so. Let's hope so. But if this Arthur deal goes through, this is a big win, in my opinion. It sounds like you agree, Tony. So let's hope that management continues on in that regard. That we passed an anniversary this past week, and it was the anniversary of Tevez joining Juventus. I just really quickly want to touch on your thoughts, Tony, when he joined. I know I kind of was caught up in the personality traits and maybe being, you know, that bad locker room guy or maybe some issues there. And I was kind of mixed, and he was given the 10. But he surprised me, and it came to a point where I was begging for him to stay one more year. But that deal brought us Rodrigo Bentancur.
Yes.
So it's interesting. But what were your thoughts, you know, at the start of that Tevez joining Juve, and then what were your thoughts at the end of it?
I was a little surprised when we got him because, if I'm not mistaken, he was at Man U immediately before that, correct?
I don't think it was Man U he came to us from. Maybe it was. You might be right. I thought he had made another move in the Premiership before. I could be mistaken.
Oh, you're right. He went to Man City. He went from Man U to Man City. That was So we bring in this guy who's later on in his career, and we give him the number 10, which I don't know if he earned the number 10 before that point, but that was a big deal. And you brought up another great point. I mean, that of course went to Pogba, and which was not the right thing, I don't think. And then of course now it's with Dybala, and I think that is the right person to have that number 10. It comes with responsibility, obviously. So I think it's a right move now. Anyway, so Tevez, man, he was a workhorse. I was really amazed to see what he could do at that time. And man, that goal he scored against Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League was fantastic. And he handcuffed that keeper, and that changed it, and it gave us a chance to be able to move on in the Champions League at that time. So, yeah, I would have liked to have seen him stay another year. I think he definitely had that in him. And of course, he went back to Boca. You know, you can't fault a player for going back to his childhood team. So fantastic. But you made the best point, because I think giving up Tevez at that point, getting us Rodrigo Bentancur, I think we came out on top of that deal. And he's going to be feeding. We're going to get the fruits of that for hopefully 3, 5, 6, 7 more years at least.
It took a while, but Bentancur's really, really, turning the corner, so to speak, with Juve, and he is one of those guys that, he's, I don't know, like I could see him being a staple. And when you think Juventus, you think Bentancur. I could see him being that guy in a couple more years if he keeps on at this performance level and pace. That's great. Let's get to some fun now. Obviously, you've been a fan for so long. You could speak to clubs that I can only read about, and I want to get your all-time 11 for
Okay.
Juventus.
So I worked hard on this because I'm going to go with my 11 that I've actually been able to see play. So there was a great player, Boniperti, many, many, many years ago. I'm going to leave him out of this just because I never saw him play live because
Eh,
I was not alive at that time. So I'm going to stick to players, my 11 of what I've actually seen. So let's start at the back. I will put the numero uno de numero uno, Gianluigi Buffon. And as a close second would be Zoff as well. Dino Zoff also being a great legend at the club, also being a coach at one point. But I think it's got to be Buffon. And I mean, his staying power, he is just a legend. And I read today, Mbappe today announced that he is still sad to not have Buffon with him at PSG. That's
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah, that's great. There's one way to fix that too.
Oh, to bring Mbappe over?
Oh yeah.
I think we got to sell a lot of cars to be able to make that happen.
Oh yeah. We got a couple cars in the midfield too that have to go, but yeah,
Oh,
that's
no, but I meant real cars. I meant like
yeah.
some Fiat
I hear you. I hear you.
I don't know. I don't know if Mbappe is ready to come to us, but
No,
he's ready
no.
to go somewhere.
There's way too much cleanup financially to ever even possibly think about that. But yeah, carry on with your 11 there.
So the two center backs, classic, and not to take anything away from Chiellini. We've talked at length about him. He is our captain right now, but Scirea and Gentile were fantastic the way they worked back there, and for a while in tandem. Unfortunately, we lost one of them to a car accident, but classy players. You never had to worry about them with yellow cards or red cards or anything like that. Just fantastic players. At the left back, Antonio Cabrini, maybe one other Italian left back, with all due respect to Cabrini, would be Maldini. But Cabrini would be the number 2 Italian Azzurri that played in that position. And I would say probably the best one for Juventus.
Okay.
On the right side, Lilian Thuram, the Frenchman, great player, went on to have a great career as well. Where the problems occurred was in the midfield. I was trying to find, I'm kind of making it a 4-4-2 or a 4-1-3-2. I got to see Pirlo play. I got to see Pirlo play at AC Milan. He played, of course, at Inter, at Brescia. Got to see him play at not Man City, at New York City, the Man City affiliate. So I'm going to put Pirlo back there as a regista, only because I saw the guy make some incredible passes. He's a classy player, professional. He's got the best beard in football, no question about that. And you know, stay calm. As long as Pirlo's there, everything's going to be good. Not the best defender in the world, not the fastest player in the world, but man, can he fire passes off around. And his free kicks were fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, Platini. I'm going to put him in the midfield. Kind of, it's a problem. You got Platini and you have Zinedine Zidane, both great dominant players in 2 different eras. Platini was there during the won the Champions League. Zidane, of course, we sold him, which brought in a lot of money, but great dominant players, fantastic players. The player I'm leaving out of this midfield or forward is Baggio. Why? Because he missed that penalty kick with the Azzurri. I'm going to say that, but not to take anything away. The guy was a fantastic player, had some great skills with his feet. The one I am going to put in is Nedved. What a workhorse! We brought him over from Lazio, and then he became a Juventino, and of course, he's still a Juventino today. You could bring in other players as well, Edgar Davids. You could also bring in Lichtsteiner on the right-hand side, but I don't know that he had the legend of Lilian Thuram there. And then up top, I have Trezeguet, who I thought maybe not the first choice that a lot of other people would think, but he was an opportunist. He made things happen. The one player I'm dropping out is Ibra. And I'm also not including CR7 because he has not shown it for us at Juve yet. Yeah. If he brings us the Champions League, then maybe I could put him in. So the other player, of course, is the number 10 legend, Alex Del Piero, who I was so sorry to see him go away. I didn't like the way he was treated at the end, but he was such a happy, incredibly talented player, and he was Juventus for me for the longest time.
Yeah, to people that don't even follow Juventus, if they think Juventus, it usually is linked to Del Piero. The standing ovations at big away pitches, Manchester United, Old Trafford there, Bernabeu there, Madrid. The guy's incredible. That's a great all-time 11. I mean, those things are always hard because you're always going to leave out incredible talents. We've been blessed to have so many greats play for Juventus. It is very, very challenging. I thank you for sharing that. We are going to get to two very, very fun new segments to finish off this podcast, my man. We are going to go with Juventus prized possessions, okay? And I'll get you to explain to me some of your prized possession, but the prized possession that you have. Okay. Go ahead.
I bought some jerseys in the past. My first true authentic Juventus jersey was the CR7. I didn't really buy a lot of jerseys in the past. You can see some of my stuff behind me. I fly the flag proudly underneath my national flag outside. I've got stickers, Juventus stickers on this water bottle that I use every day. All of those things have been great, but I haven't invested a lot of money in the actual jerseys. So I did buy the CR7, and that's the other point that you brought about the CR7 transfer was financially what it's meant to the club as well, promotionally, like being able to sell his jersey and all of his images and all that kind of stuff. You spend $100 million for him, but who knows how much he's brought in for ticket sales and everything else. People watch Juve now because Ronaldo is there, even though it's at the twilight of his career, but they're going to watch him because he is Ronaldo. Yeah. But my prized possession, we spoke about Alex Del Piero. I have a signed Alex Del Piero soccer ball. Awesome. For those of you that don't know, he now lives in LA. He owns a restaurant there, and I believe he owns a restaurant in Milan. But he's actually raising his kids in LA now. And he was at a charity fundraiser, signed this ball, and then my soccer buddy, who coaches a smaller college team here in where I live, he got a hold of the ball because he's a Liverpool fan and I'm a Juve fan, and we respect each other and respect our knowledge of the game. And we talk about soccer all the time. And he said, well, you need to get me that ball. And he's like, well, no, I already got it assigned to someone else. He said, no, you don't understand. My buddy, Tonino, he is the biggest Juventus fan that I know in the world. So he got it for me. He surprised me with it one day. And I got it about a month ago. So
that's awesome. That's fantastic, Tony. That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, you touched on that's interesting that's the first jersey that you went after, the Ronaldo. That's cool. You've been a fan for so long, and your first authentic being Ronaldo. That's cool. That ball signed Del Piero. Fantastic, man. Love it. Absolutely.
I forgot about one other thing I have. My license plate on my car is a Juve 21 or 21. And it's, of course, that's the number that Higuain has now. And it was the number that Dybala had. But the real reason I had it was for Pirlo. When Pirlo was carrying the 21, that's when I got the personalized license plate. I still have that today. I don't think I'm ever going to get rid of it.
That's awesome.
And people like your generation and younger who see me on the road with the car, they honk at me and give me the thumbs up. That's cool to see.
That is cool. That's a great story. That's awesome. I love hearing stories like that with Juventini and whatnot. Really, really cool. Obviously, I got the striped heart stuff going on, and I had a cool story with my good friend Lewis, who was wearing the Marquisio shirt. He was walking down the street, and somebody stopped him randomly and was just like, "Hey, Juve," and then they started talking. He's like, "That shirt," and he started telling them, and he goes, "Yeah, I've heard that podcast. That's cool. I had no idea, about the shirts." And I love hearing stuff like that. Like that's amazing. To have the license plate and stuff like that, that's really cool. Getting the honks, thumbs up. I love it. I love it. That prize possession though, that ball signed by Del Piero, beautiful, beautiful. Got to get yourself a nice display case, put it up, and keep that bad boy. That's awesome. We are gonna finish up with a new fun little game to wrap up. My guest Tony's going to join me. We're going to alternate and come up with playing Juventus categories. The category is going to be players that names began with the letter T. And we're just going to see how far we can go off the top of our heads. It might not be very far, but for those of you tuning in, just a fun new game, and see if you can take it further. See how many you can rattle off. So I'll kick us off with the guy whose anniversary we started off with, which is Tevez. Tony, you're up.
Midfielder more from my era, Marco Tardelli, also won the World Cup in '82 with the Azzurri.
Nice.
Great player.
I am going to go with another player that you had mentioned, which was Lilian Thuram.
Oh, yeah? All right. I'm going to go with another midfielder, Tacchinardi.
Nice. Nice. I will go with a guy who no one's very fond of, but Thiago.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about him. Okay. Keeper before the Buffon era, I guess you could say, was Tacconi. Stefano Tacconi.
Yeah. Ah, man, I'm working off. I believe we had a player. You might be able to speak to it, but I couldn't tell you a position. I can't quite. His last name was Tancredi. He might have been some sub or something. Might have been a backup key. I can't recall, but we had a Tancredi at one time, way back.
I can't say. I mean, I know the name, but I can't remember that if he played for us or not. Okay, I will give you that one. I don't know. Okay. One that I already mentioned in my top 11, Trezeguet.
Trezeguet. Beautiful.
I've got one more that I can think of.
Really? I might be done. So we've got Tardelli, we've got Thuram, got Trez, got Tacchinardi, Tardelli, even Thiago. I'm trying to think here. I might be done, my friend. I might be done. If you've got another, you can feel free to rattle it off.
Okay. Defender by the name of Igor Tudor.
Tudor. How did I forget Igor Tudor? Croatian. I love Tudor. Yeah. Oh, man. Nicely done. Nicely done, Tony. That was fun, man. I like that. I like that categories one. T is a tough one. We didn't get too many. That was 7. I challenge anybody, throw some more out there, but that's a tough one. That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining me, Tony. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to listen. Obviously, we'll be back. There's a condensed schedule. There's going to be podcasts coming left, right, and center, few and far between, but it's always a pleasure getting new guests out there. Tony, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. We will do this again. Absolutely. And everybody, thank you again for all the support, listening. If you want to take part and be a guest, just reach out on Twitter It's at all JuveCast. And we'll set something up. Even if we can't get you on a post-match, because I know all the matches are booked, we can even do something fun and have a pop-up podcast. So thank you again, everybody. We'll be back after our next match against Genoa, hopefully celebrating another victory. For now, let's celebrate 7 points clear up at the top where Juve need to be. Till next time, Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Ciao.